Hello, and welcome to Tech Office Hours hosted by the Bean Path. Today, we're discussing digital marketing strategies for small businesses with our very own Theresa Kennedy. Theresa is the marketing manager for the Bean Path. In addition to that, she is a Moss Point native, a proud alumna of Alcorn State University, where she was a part of the 2001 SWAC Women's Tennis Champion Team, and a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She earned a bachelor's in business administration as well as a master's in agricultural economics. She started her marketing and PR company 5520 in 2012, and she recently created a monthly podcast that targets women called Dear Sister. They have candid conversations about sisterhood, leadership, politics, and everything in between. And now I will pass it along to Theresa to speak more about what she's going to talk about today.
Hello, you all, and thank you so much, Angeline, for that introduction. I'm gonna tell a little bit about myself as well. That was part of my presentation, but it's all good. At this time, I am going to share my screen, and we'll get right into it. Okay. Uh-oh. All right. So here we are. Take that off. Uh-oh. Sorry. I gotta move this around. Okay. Move that down. All right, here we are. There we are. All right. So, as you all know, we are talking about digital marketing strategies to grow your business. I am going to assume that not everybody here is a 3+ year old business. Some of you all may be new. I'm also going to assume that some of you all are here because you probably have struggled with some things and would like to know how best to move forward, or have wondered about some things as it relates to your digital marketing strategies and how you can best do that to move the needle with your business. Um, Everything that I share today will not apply to you. And it's very important you understand that. But please, 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 if you have any questions, I'm going to share my contact information at the end of this presentation. You can email me your questions, or even at the end, we are going to be taking questions. So if you don't get a chance to ask your question then, or you have to leave out early, you can definitely reach out to me. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so a little about me. Angeline did share where I grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. My whole presentation skills, and this is really relevant to what we're going to be talking about too, really started from Girl Scouts. I was in Girl Scouts at a very young age, up until probably about middle school, almost high school. And then also watching my older brother, who used to compete in oratorical competitions. That's a lot of where that come from. And not too long ago, I graduated college, as Angeline mentioned. Since then, I have worked in the area of ag financing, city government, political campaigns, and until now, entrepreneurship. In 2010, I did start a business, an online business, e-commerce site called Red August. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we talk about digital strategies, things I learned from that online business and how it has rolled over to even what I do today. And then currently, as Angeline shared, I am a creator host of a podcast called Dear Sister. If you ever get a chance, check us out. And also, I am founder, principal of 5520, which is a public relations, marketing, and small business consulting firm. And so, again, been doing that since 2012. Some of it started out as sweat equity, and eventually rolled over to a money-making business. And I have been very fortunate with that. Okay, our next slide. So our topics to be covered today is social media. We'll talk a little bit about websites, email marketing, management tools, and brand marketing. These are all things that are relative to digital marketing. And I think it's important that you all, again, take note of all of this. Before I get into any of that, please know that you must know, if you have not figured out who your target audience is. A lot of things I'll share today, if you don't know who your target audience is, it will go right, these things will go right over your head, or that may be why if you have experienced this, some things may be bumping your head against the wall and not realizing why things are not turning over like they ought to. It's because knowing your target audience is so very important. I cannot stress that enough. Another thing is starting with a plan. There's a saying if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. With the plan in place, and not saying that you can't ever change the plan, but just having some framework, some infrastructure in place of things that you can work from, and knowing when to pivot, knowing when to test the market and this and that, will definitely give you a huge advantage in making sure that your business is successful. So you definitely want to have a plan, and also having that plan will help with deciding which platform is best for you, because not all these platforms I'm going to talk about will be things that could be helpful to your business. So this is an urgent message, especially in the digital age. People want everything now, now, now. And that Mark Wade shared that, and he's exactly right. Everyone knows we kind of live in this microwave society right now, where people want information as quick as possible, as often as possible, when they want it. And so a lot of that is usually relative to our phones. We are able to access so much information right in the palm of our hands using our phones. Most of us carry around iPads. We carry around our laptops. We even have a desktop at home. And so at home or at work, but this is definitely a digital world. And so we're going to get right into this funnel here, digital marketing funnel. Pay attention to this. Notice it starts off with awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, advocacy. Even you as a consumer, this is usually how you start out. This is how businesses see you. They see you as a viewer, a visitor. Eventually, you move on down through the funnel and become a customer. That is the ultimate goal, is to become a customer, a repeat customer, and then a brand advocate. Notice on this digital marketing funnel, it's a little different from the traditional marketing funnel, because it gives a little detail about things that you can do online, of course, how it plays out from the top to the bottom. You notice the online ads, you notice stories, storytelling posts, you notice the videos, you notice the website, you notice landing pages. Some of these things are what we're going to talk about. You see the emails. All of this is relative to what you want to see happen with your customers. Or potential customers, you want to take them from a viewer or a visitor to your website or your social media page or your email, and move them on down. And we'll talk a little bit about how that happens. So the first one I mentioned was social media. We know that social media, especially in the last, 18 months, 2020, there was a huge influx of people flooding into social media. Social media is really, really popular for several reasons. It connects us to not only people, but to information. For some of us, it's just something to do to kill time. It's something to do for laughter, or just get away from it all, because time really does get away from you. If you're anything like me, you know that time flies when you get on social media. But social media is where a lot of people spend a lot of their time, and you as a business owner, someone who's either in business or looking to start a business, will have to use some type of social media. Now, these are just the numbers from last month in July. Social media use around the world. Right now, currently, well, in July, as of July, the total number of active social media users is almost 4.5 billion people. 4.5 billion people. That's quite a bit. There's been an influx in the number of people. Again, I told you a number of people using social media, especially after 2020 and the pandemic and everything. And people wanting to social distance, people not being able to connect like they normally would. There's been a huge influx. Now, what pay attention to is the average amount of time that people spend on social media. This is on average 2 hours, 24 minutes. Um, I can't imagine what the higher numbers are, but on average 2 hours and 24 minutes out of our day that we spend on social media. So as a business owner, you definitely want to pay attention to that and know where everyone is. So here we are. These are just some online, well, some social media platforms here. As you can, surprisingly, what surprised me was YouTube. YouTube is actually number 2. They come in at 2.3 billion. From there, you go on down. Actually, What's Up app is number 3, but Instagram comes in at 4, at 1.4 billion people. Pinterest, you see, is 47 million. Snapchat, 514 million. TikTok, 732 million. And Twitter is only 397 million. And that word's misspelled. But nevertheless, when you know who your target audience is, you know which one of these social media platforms will apply to you. Notice there's one missing, and that is the king of social media, Facebook. Facebook has roughly 2.85 billion people on a monthly average use on their website, on their platform. 4 of these social media sites I just mentioned are owned by Facebook. 4 of them. And at least 6 of them claim to have at least a 1 billion user on a monthly basis. But 4 of them are owned by Facebook. And I thought that was pretty interesting because Facebook obviously is the king, as I said before. But there's a reason why I share this about or I mentioned the target audience, and then even sharing the numbers here with you about the social media. Knowing who your target audience is, you'll know which platform to use. And there's a reason why we use social media for our businesses. Let's say for me, when I did Red August, my target audience then, I was targeting women who had disposable incomes. I was targeting women who were between the age of 25 and 45. And I was targeting women too. I knew that as well, the sex. Women who shopped, liked to shop, their interests were certain things. I even knew, and that's the beautiful thing about marketing on social media is you can actually, when you create an ad, you can segment it into what you want, what area you want, what their interests are. You can break it all the way down to that far levels and get really into it so that you know that these are people and where they are and where you can find them. Because the worst thing is, and I've talked to people, business owners, I've heard people say this, everybody, when you ask them who their target audience is, they'll say everyone. Everyone is not your target audience. Everyone does not want what you're selling. I know that seems like the typical thing to say, and that's easy to say, but there's work in it, and you have to really dig deep to find that out. Not everyone wants what you're selling. Even if it's free, some things that you're giving away may be free, they still don't want that. And so the assumption is you've got to know where they are, because you don't have enough money to target everyone. And so most people whose budget is, especially small businesses budgets that are limited, you got to go where they are. And so the way you go where they are is knowing who they are. You know who they are, and you know where to go. So social media allows for, and one of the great things about Facebook is having that business account, that business page on Facebook, and having a business account on Instagram allows for you to connect it to accounts. Once you connect the accounts, what you post on Instagram flows over to Facebook if you choose to have it that way. And you can just go in and create or do one ad that plays not only on Facebook, but also on Instagram and in Messenger. And you can get a lot of bang for your buck. You can touch thousands of people with a $5 promo that you may run for one day or for 2 days, or $5 a day for I'm sorry, $10, $5 a day for 2 days. You can touch thousands of people that way when you know who your audience is. And that's the beautiful thing about social media. A lot of people are on here, but you got to know where they are and who it is that you're targeting to use them. Using social media, there has been in most recent times, as recent as the last year, they found that videos are increasingly becoming more and more popular. If you notice on Instagram, there is a IGTV now. There is also a reel. You also probably have noticed when you post more into your stories, you more likely to get more views and more feedback on your stories than you do from an actual post. But you want to pay that attention to videos. Those 1 minute videos, those 30 and 60-second videos are really important. Many people tune into those, and that's a great way to sell your service or your product or highlight it. And in all of that, you're storytelling as well. So you want to also make sure that people are connecting with you, not so much because of the product or service that you're selling, but because of the story that you're telling. Um, Another thing I have to remind people too is pay attention to the quality of it. You don't want to post fuzzy photos or just, distracted photos as well. Make certain that you are using clean imaging that's prohibited as well to share your story too. And what I've also noticed with the videos and what people marketing, what they have going on in the storytelling, they're using music to help tell that story too. So be careful. I know on Facebook it tends to mute you out without giving a disclaimer. So be sure to give those disclaimers. But social media can be a huge plus to telling your story and telling about your business and services that you offer. And also, it's a way of building trust and people getting to know you too, because people tend to do business with who they know or trust. And that's not so much know that they know you personally. They just know that through what you're presenting, they build up this level of trust in you or awareness. So you use social media. I'm sorry, we're talking about the when and why and how now, but you use the social media to build brand awareness, to develop customer relationships, and even make sales directly on social media platforms. I mentioned Instagram earlier. Instagram and Facebook both now allow pretty much for you to sell directly from their sites without you ever having to leave their site. And that's really what they want. They want to keep you there as long as they can, because of course it helps with their advertising dollars and bringing in revenue, but they want to keep you there as much as possible. But a lot of that does tie into your website, which we'll talk a little bit about that customer relationship. Again, I can't stress that enough. um, People tend to do business with who they know or trust. When you That marketing funnel I showed y'all just a minute ago, the digital marketing funnel, you come in, or that person or your potential client comes in as a visitor or a viewer, and you're building trust with them. It's part of the customer, what they call the customer journey as well. It's part of that that gets them to move through that funnel that I showed you all earlier just a while ago, that makes them a customer. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the customer and the brand marketing, about why that's so important. But we also know that most people use social media to research things that they're going to buy. Many of us have seen those ads pop up in our social media, or we'll go search their Facebook page, especially restaurants. We'll search their Facebook page to see what people are saying or the reviews are saying about them. Um, know that it's so important for you to keep your social media updated, because that is a huge factor, and why a lot of people tend to do business with you is because of the content that you're posting there. So the content has to be relative, it has to be clear, and it has to be consistent. All right, so we're moving into now your website. The website. Again, I can't say this enough. People do business with who they are. Having a website also builds credibility. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be clear. When people get to your website, they need to know what exactly it is that you do. And it needs, so you in your website, you need to keep in mind that your website needs to be clear. It's yours. It's something that no one can take from you unless the internet decides to shut down one day. But it's your website, and so that's the difference between social media. At any point, the social medias can be done away with, or they can start charging you for it. And I would hope you would see that as an investment by maybe paying for it, depending on what the price point is and what it is that you actually do. But the website is yours. Once you get that website, it is yours. Buy the domain. I see a lot of businesses that won't spend that extra dollar or two a month to have that domain name. And so and just recent, I was talking to a lady, and she's been in business for several years. But when I asked her what her website was, she went into this long, drawn out website. And it was a Wix website, but I was shocked. I was like, oh goodness. I was like, you can just buy the domain and shorten that. And you can easily tell people that this is your website. Go to this here, what is actually her business name. And she's like, yeah, I thought about that. And I've been thinking about doing that. Go ahead and do it. Stop trying to cut corners to save a dollar or two when that website is really could be the determining factor whether people do business with you or they take you seriously. So go ahead and take the extra step, because a lot of people aren't doing it. A lot of people aren't doing it. I would even say go so far to, once you buy the domain, get that email address, get that business email address to go along with it. A lot of us may start out with a Gmail, but eventually you move to a point or a level where you really ought to be operating. For instance, I do have 5520@gmail.com, and that's where I started. But once I got my domain and I was clear on everything lining up with that, I went ahead and got a professional email address or a business email address that lines up with my domain. And so it just sets you apart. I can't tell you the rate of the return of interest that comes back to you by taking that extra step and having a website. And when again, I talk about the target audience, when you know what the target audience is and when you have that plan, you are clear about what it is that you're offering on your website. It's yours. You need to be as clear as possible. You need to buy the domain, and you need to make sure that your website is set up in a way that is easy for people to navigate. The person who may create it or had someone create it, you may think it's easy to navigate because you know what it is that you're looking for. But then let's say if a person goes to view your website or visit your website, would they be able to navigate from here to there as easy as possible? So the way you can test that out is just have some friends look at your website and ask them for honest feedback. If you have a mentor, ask that person to look at it to give you some honest feedback on what it is that your website has and what it may be missing. And even I would go so far to talk about a competitive analysis. And with the competitive analysis is when you look at your competition, and if you are offering a similar service or product or selling a similar product, and look at their website, there may be something that their website has or that you think it should have, that you can have on your website, and it sets your website apart or even set your business apart from others. But on that marketing funnel that I mentioned earlier, your website really falls between awareness and consideration, because sometimes when people get to your website, is really what you may have on your website that moves them along that down the funnel and to do business with you. Again, people do business with who they know or trust. Oh, sorry. Back on one other thing I want to tell you about your websites. There are several that you can use. One would be Shopify. That is if you're doing e-commerce, I strongly suggest that one. Another one, especially because they allow for hosting as well. You're gonna need a hosting website. Another one is GoDaddy. I've used GoDaddy probably the last 15 years for several different websites, and a lot of them already have themes set up. All you need to do is plug in your information, which a lot of information you already have. You can just plug your information in, maybe even change it to, you can change the colors. It's really simple. But if any at any point you find it overwhelming, beyond your skill set, you can always hire someone to do it as well. But GoDaddy is one, WordPress, Wix, I mentioned that earlier. Those are all websites that allow for you to not only buy the domain, but they'll host your website as well for a small monthly fee, or you can pay it annually. A lot of that is totally up to you and what your budget is and what you're selling. Another good one is Kajabi. Kajabi is a good one because that one is a website. Well, it allows for you to build out your website, but it's primarily for people who have like online products, like subscriptions or some sort, or memberships, online courses. Kajabi is a good one. You definitely want to check those out. And I'm mentioning all of these sites. I'm not getting paid from any of them, but they're really great to have in your, to know which one, and do a Google search on them. Figure out which one best align with what it is that you want to do, what type of service you're offering, what type of product that you're selling. Figure out which one is best for you, and which one, even on as a back office, which one is most easiest for you. Because having that website and being able to update your information as easy as possible is what you're looking for. Because all your information won't always stay the same on your website. You want to keep that website current, consistent, and clear. All right. So now we're moving on to email marketing. Email marketing is a huge, huge deal. Now, some people write off email marketing because it's old, you know. People see it as, oh, it's been around for a while, but email marketing is really evolving. And if it's used correctly, it can build brand loyalty and generate money for you. I talked about the phone earlier. One of the first things I do in the morning is check my email. And well, yeah, email, and then probably social media after that. But email typically falls first. And if you notice in your email, there's a lot of emails that go out between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. Because they have figured it out. They know that people are checking their emails then. And people check their email. It is said that people check their email anywhere up to 5 times a day. 5 times a day. And that's just on average. There's probably people probably check it a lot more than that, to be honest. But email marketing is a direct way. Well, let me tell you what email marketing is. Email marketing is the act of sending a commercial message, typically to a group of people using email. It is a direct way of you connecting with people. I can't stress that enough. It's so even more important because it's you're connected with them directly. It goes right into their inbox. I've had an email address, my Hotmail email, I've had, gosh, maybe 20 years now. That one I've had the longest, and it's probably the largest inbox that I have. But I'll always keep it. I'll always keep it. I always check it. I've moved over to getting another email. Well, I have several other email addresses that I use, but I check all of them. But it is a way of people directly connecting to you at little cost. Most of these email platforms are very inexpensive, if they're really probably less than that, depending on the number of email addresses that you have. And which leads me to a landing page. Well, before I go there, I want to say a little bit more about these four here. I've used Constant Contact, MailChimp. I have not ever used Sendinblue, but I know people who do use it, and they speak very highly of it. HubSpot, I just started using, still learning that one, to be honest with you. But these are the big ones. These are the biggest ones. When I say they have evolved, they really have. I mean, Constant Contact has changed their logo over time, but I do know Constant Contact and MailChimp and HubSpot. Most of these are free, depending again on the number of email addresses that you have. If you are not using email marketing, you have got to start using it. Um, Again, it's the direct contact with current clients, potential clients, and you will need it. You own that email list. And that's something that you want to always have in your possession, is that owning that email list. I mentioned just a minute ago about a landing page. If you go to the Bing Pass website right now, there's a landing page that's going to pop up. And I don't know how best to describe it, but I can just tell you what it looks like. And you've probably seen it. You go to most websites now, they are showing a landing page pops up. A landing page is that very thing that comes up either because you clicked on something on their website, and you can set it to do that. When someone goes to your website, you can have it set to after so long, so many seconds after they've been on your website, you can have it set up where it comes up as soon as your website comes up, or you can have it set to when they try to click on something. And you can also make it an option. I've been to sites where it's not an option. I strongly suggest you make it an option to people, to be on your website. I mean, to do the give you their email address. Let that be an option for people. Don't hold them up by not letting them onto your site because you really want that email address. And it's as important as it is, and as much as you want it, make it an option to people. There's nothing worse than people getting there and they can't navigate or go where they want to go because of that. But that landing page, you go to the bingpap.org right now, you're going to see it. If you're on your phone, you're going to also see it there. If you're on a laptop or computer, desktop, you're going to see it there. You want to make sure that that landing page shows up correctly on both devices or both type of devices, simply because, again, most people are on their phones all day, most days of the day. Uh, but for those of us who still use a desktop or laptop of some sort throughout the day or at some point, for business, you want to make sure it shows up there too. And it just shows up correctly. So please check that if you hadn't had a chance. So again, back to the landing page, you need to get one, especially if you have a website. Most of these that are here will allow you to create a landing page. And when I say they've evolved, they now have recognized that people are wanting more than just being able to send out newsletters or send out things that are happening within their business. It's really, I can't stress how important it is for you to have one. If you're doing business nowadays and don't have a landing page, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. So you need to totally look at that. They're very easy to create. You can always go to YouTube, number two social media, to find out how that works and what's going on. Another thing about email marketing is measurable and testable. When I talk about it evolving, that's another thing. The average click rate or the average open rate is about 23%. The average click-through rate is about 18%. And when I say open rate, meaning people actually open your email. Through sending an email list, you can actually go see who actually opens and do not open your emails. It also allows people to opt out or unsubscribe to your business. And then we talk about the click-through rate. On your email, when you're doing whatever you're sending out, you always want to make sure you include links either back to your website, to your social medias, or if you mention another company, make sure it's a clickable item. Even if it's just an image, make sure that you put a link, attach a link to that image that people can click through. When people start clicking through, that's another way of driving people either to your social media or even to your website. So all of this ties in, all of this is connected. That click-through rate is important for you as well as the open rate, because you don't want them to just open, you want them to click on something. You want to, again, move them down that digital marketing funnel, and move them to a customer or a repeat customer. So this is that percentage I mentioned earlier about the the open rate and the click-through rate, they provide the information to you. You can even set it up to go out at a certain time. You may create this e-blast to go out. You may set it, be created at 2 or 3 in the morning and set it up to go out at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. on this particular, in a couple of days from now, or go out so many different days. It is time invested for future timing. So it helps you out a whole lot, and definitely helps your business out with staying relevant and staying an option to people with them doing business with you. So we're moving to management tools. We've talked a lot about social media. We've talked about email marketing. We've talked about website. It can be a lot and overwhelming to manage it all. And we hadn't even talked about you actually out there pushing you actually out there building whatever your product is, or creating or perfecting whatever service it is. This is another part, and you have to be organized. And that's why these management tools are important, so that all of it doesn't overwhelm you as a small business owner, because it's a lot. Most small business owners' to-do list is a lot of things every day, and you want to get it done, because that really helps with determining the success of your business. And so these are some management tools that can be used to make it all work. I have here Hootsuite. That is typically one used for social medias. You can set that up for a number of your businesses. Let's say you may have more than one business. You can set it up for more than one. You can set it up that it rolls over from your Twitter to your Facebook to your Instagram. Hootsuite has evolved even itself in what it offers. And so I totally think you should check that out. Again, that's a social media management tool for you. Another one is HubSpot. HubSpot is really good for one of the biggest reasons is their customer relationship management. So once you get this person to move on down the funnel into a customer, you want to stay in contact with them, or utilize their contact information. And so it's a CRM management tool, and it will bring together the entire marketing funnel, actually, because you can use that HubSpot for marketing, sales, all of that. And it's a good way to save you time. You put a lot of time in on the front end, but then it saves you time on the back end. Google Analytics. This is probably the most powerful one, because you want to know where people are coming from to find you. And this really relates to your website. And it only takes a couple of minutes to add the code that you get from to your website. And it gives you the ability to track who's coming to your website and where they're coming from. Now, I mentioned earlier about having an online retail business called Red August. When I started Red August in 2010, again, e-commerce was not what it is today. I did not have the option of utilizing Instagram like it is today. And so I relied on people coming to my website to give me a lot of insight on where they were and who they were. And a lot of those people, interestingly, were beyond where I thought a lot of my customers would come from, right? It wasn't a lot of people. I'm here in Mississippi now, but I had just as many, or in the Metro Jackson area in Mississippi, I had just as many customers beyond the Metro Jackson area than I did even in this area where I know people. And so when you look at those analytics, you're able to know where you can go market yourself on social media. You know where they are, where you're pulling clients in. And I'll back up a little bit too about the website, especially if you have an e-commerce site. My website was one I had built out. I didn't use one of the e-commerce sites because the things were so cookie cutters, and it wasn't as many of them, and I wanted it to look a certain way. But nevertheless, I didn't set up the shipping to do international shipping. And the website. So someone bought some shoes from overseas, and I only had US shipping available at the time. And so when that order came through, and I was like, oh goodness, I had to send that person an email and let them know. But they too had sent an email right behind me sending one. One came through saying that they had made the purchase, and she knew that that couldn't have been the correct shipping amount from shipping from the US. And so I did I then was able to look at where were people coming from, not just beyond here domestically inside the US borders, but there were people outside of my imagination of where that was shopping with Red August. So though analytics is very important because you're able to track your who's visiting your website and where they are. And again, that ties over to your social media and where you're able to market yourself. Another management tool that's very huge for small business owners is the Dropbox. Excuse me. It's the Dropbox. And so with the Dropbox, it's most of y'all probably, and not everybody knows this, and not everybody does business with Google Suites, which allows for you to create all of that and have a Google Drive. But for those of us who don't, and maybe use another platform, Dropbox is where you can manage, excuse me, y'all. It's a cloud-based document sharing, pretty much platform. And it connects to Slack, it connects to Zoom. I don't have Slack on here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Slack too. But it helps you stay organized. You can send links, you can share from Dropbox documents with a certain person. You can even set it up to make it private so that they can't even share it with someone else or forward it on. But Dropbox will really help you when you're sharing large files or photos. If you're into a photography business, you may use Dropbox to share photos with your clients. It's a great way of doing that using Dropbox. I have Kajabi here again, simply because if you have a monetizing product, again, a subscription membership to an online course of some sort, this is where you want to use Kajabi. Adobe Sign is a big one. And some of these come at a price, I have to admit. Adobe Sign, I think, comes at a price. Well, I know it does. Adobe Sign is set up where a person can fill out a PDF online and send that right back to you without having to print it out, actually sign it, and then scan it back into your some sort. So Adobe Sign helps with managing as well, especially if you when you're first starting out or have contracts that you want to roll through. And I'm gonna speed up a little bit. We almost are at the last digital strategy I wanted to share with you all, but I want to say something about Slack. Slack, if you have a team like the Bean Paths team, for example, where half of the team is out of state, and then the other half are in one state, but still separate places and not all under one roof, Slack was a good place to not overwhelm a person's email inbox, not overwhelm a person's text messages on their phone, but it's a place where information can be shared collectively. You can invite different people into different channels on Slack. If you've got more questions about Slack, because I am rolling through this really, really fast. If you got more questions about Slack, please email me. And don't be afraid to try these things, especially if they are right now. What you're doing is, one, you're unorganized, and what you're doing is causing a lot of time and energy and effort and taking you away from what really makes you the money. Then you definitely need to look at other options. And so this digital marketing that I'm talking about involves management tools that allow to make your life and as streamlined as possible, and your business life as well as streamlined as possible. Another one is Asana, but I won't talk about that one much. But if you have questions about Asana, or you can just Google it and look into it, that one is a good one as well to have as a marketing tool for your company or your business. I do want to leave time for questions, so I'm kind of going to run through brand marketing really fast. But before I get into the goals of brand marketing, I want to tell you what brand marketing is. It pretty much is a plan that's meant to continuously boost your business, or keep your brand, I should say, going. You do it to really grow your base of loyal customers. At the end of the day, we all want customers, and as much as this is a plan, it the intent of it is that it keeps evolving, because you want to always stay fresh, you want to always stay consistent with what you're sharing, but be fresh on how you share it. So the goals of brand marketing, I say right here, are to develop a brand identity image. Most people, when they see brand or brand identity, they think it's just a logo. It's so much more than that. Making your brand recognizable through visual elements like your logo, or even a symbol, your colors, even your packaging, something as little as your packaging. Those are things that people are able to identify you with and to give you that identity. Another goal of brand marketing is to raise brand awareness. That is pretty much saying that customers recognize and can recall your brand. So you want to try to raise brand awareness with your whatever your business is, and you do that, or the goal of that is to make customers recognize and recall your business. If they were looking for someone to provide them with a certain service, you want to, because you're doing things like ads, you're doing email marketing, you have a website, and you are even have done some relationship building. You want to make sure that people recognize it or can recall you when they need to. Another one is develop brand loyalty. Um, that pretty much is saying that you're developing a loyal customer base that sticks with your brand over time, which is what you really, really want. It costs 5 times more to gain a new customer than it does to retain a customer. I was talking to a small business owner recently, and she was like, "Hey, I really want to get new, I want to grow my business in terms of I want more customers." And I said, "Well, let me ask you this: what are you doing to retain your customers?" And she was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, what are you doing? Do you stay in contact with your current clients and outside, or your former clients?" And she's like, "Well, not really." And so I was like, it costs you more to try to get a new client than to just market yourself to the same, old clients or your current clients. And she said, "Well, I never thought about that." And I said, "Well, you have their information already, so you have a way of contacting them. Now you just need to remind them, as I just said about the brand awareness, remind them that you're there and that you still provide these services, or even that you've added on new services." And so I was like, oftentimes a lot of our business come from referrals, or somebody told somebody about somebody, which is still the number one, word of mouth. Um, you build that up over time, because you stayed in contact with people. Again, people do business with who they know or trust. And that's also moving them down the marketing funnel from conversion to loyalty as well. So also another goal of brand marketing is to gather brand ambassadors. Um, you want brand ambassadors, again, that referral almost. You want to increase that, people who are recommending your product or service. So you want to definitely provide a good quality product or service so that people have a reason to refer you on, or speak highly of your business. I've spoken highly of several different companies today, and those, I'm an ambassador to them to some sort, none paid when I should say, but I've helped build that over time through my own experience with them, and that customer journey experience. And then the last one is to create brand engagement. And that pretty much is having people interact with your brand, whether that's visiting your website, going to your social media, reviewing, make reviews about your products, and or even making orders. That brand engagement. So that pretty much wraps up the digital marketing strategies that you can use for your business. Again, not everything will apply to you. A lot of the things I shared today, but it does give you an opportunity to see where you are and see what may fit for you or what may work for you. Thank you all so much for having me. This is my contact information. Again, my name is Theresa Kennedy. I'm with 5520, and that's my email address there. Please email me if you have any questions. And I'm going to exit out of here and come back to here. All right.
Hi. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A portion because I'm sure people have a lot of questions since everyone's an entrepreneur these days. Someone from Facebook said, how do you go about building something new and innovative? So I'm thinking that means maybe if you have a product that consumers maybe aren't really educated about, how do you get some traction there?
Oh, so that's a good question. I'll say this. Most people go into business because there's a need for it. And I'll also say that it is better to build a business around a demand than to build a demand around a business. So if you have a business that is, there's a demand for what you're offering, then building that out is through storytelling. You need to be able to tell your story, and that usually resonates or connects with people. Pay attention to the commercials that you see on TV, those from those big brands, those big people. Pay attention to them and see how they're telling the story. They're not saying, "Hey, go buy a car." You know, when you see a Mercedes or even a BMW commercial, they're not saying, "Hey, we got this really nice car, you ought to go buy it." They're showing you or telling the story about how it connects. It gives you a feeling. And when people can feel something about it, then they're more likely to buy it, trust it, and want to know more about it. So that's a good way of, I would suggest that you go about it through
Okay.
storytelling.
Something related to that. So you also mentioned building an email list, having a good customer base that you can readily market to. If you are new and you don't have this audience yet, what's the best way to go about finding new people for your lists?
Gosh, I talked about the landing page on your website. Definitely put that there because as much as you're going to market your business, maybe on social media, you want to make certain there's you add a button to that. Social media, what I've seen, make sure that your messaging is clear. And so when you add that button, you can have it where they go directly to your site. And when they get to your site, now you're asking them for their email address. And so everything has to be connected, and it does take time to line these things up. But once you are organized, you have a plan, and you know who your target audience is, it all lines up to get those email addresses. Um, Even if you're out talking to people about what you do, I know not so many people are doing that nowadays, but when you're connecting with people, even in these groups on Facebook, be sure to connect or exchange information in a way that they know that they're somewhat opting in to you possibly sending them some type of tip, or because there's always a trade with collecting the email addresses, right? When you get their email call, I mean their email or their business card, let them know, hey, I'll be in contact. So that you may be in contact, maybe you send that e-blast. And so it's not as simple as I've put it, but you definitely can take advantage of that by how you're presenting yourself on social media, and driving people to your website and then collecting from there.
So it sounds like what people need in the digital marketing space, we would call that a lead magnet. What
Yeah.
are some good lead magnets that people can create? So that's when I give you my email, I'm expecting you to give me something, not just a newsletter. So how can you incentivize people to share their information with you?
Gosh, that's a great question, Angela. And so it's not always a newsletter, right? It could be an actual product that you have, let's say, or a percentage off. Someone who's really good about that, I know they're a huge company, but they weren't always as large as they are now, and that is Fashion Nova. If you go to Fashion Nova, they will hawk you down. But I've gone to even smaller boutiques now. I've gone to smaller boutiques now that are offering you a 10 to 15% off, 20% off. And I know that can be hard for a lot of small businesses. I've been there, done that. I know you're not able to always offer that, but a 10% off in exchange for an email address, like that return on that is well worth it.
And I'll just add, a lot of people do like informational content or educational content in exchange for the email addresses too.
Absolutely. Tips. Some people just want to know what's the latest trend. A lot of people nowadays are experts, business coaches. So if you're working in that area, that's your service that you offer. It could be you in exchange for your email address. I'll send you something that help move your business, or a marketing tip, or whatever it is that you have, whatever your service or it is, you may have to give up something to get something, and that's typically as a trade-off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another question here is, you talked about Google Analytics and how to look at the metrics on your website. What exactly should people be looking at?
So when you go to the analytics, the insights, even on your social media, you're looking for gender. You're looking for it's able to tell you sometimes the age. Is able to tell you where the location of them. So you remember I mentioned on the social media part, social media marketing, the advertising that you don't have the dollars to spend to advertise to everyone. But let's say a majority of your clients were somehow finding you, zooming in on you out of Dallas, Texas. And so you're going to start marketing what you're doing to that area. And so that's one of the things that you're looking for is where people are coming from. And then what they're clicking through. That's another thing you can find out on your website. Let's say you offer multiple services, and the one thing that they're clicking on, or the one page that they're going to, is this one particular service that allows, now you know that, oh, okay, people want to know more about this versus this. And so it may even become something that you highlight more through your social media, that'll drive them on down that marketing funnel.
Okay, so basically what content is resonating with people and who your audience is as far as demographics go.
Yes.
Okay, really good advice. I'm sure there's so much more we could cover, but we've reached the end of our presentation. Theresa posted her email address in the chat. It's teresa@thebeanpath.org. We have presentations every second Saturday, and we also have individual assistance if people have specific questions. And also, if you yourself are a tech expert and you're watching this, we would love to have you as a volunteer. All that information can be found on our website, thebeanpath.org. And if you'd like to get BeanPath merchandise, you can shop with us at thebeanpath.org/shop. Theresa, is there anything else you'd like to plug, the podcast or any work you're doing?
Well, I do have my podcast coming up this Wednesday. Well, no, not the, yeah, August 18th. My guest is Kendra Barnes, who is killing it in the real estate game in terms of she's an investor. She became a landlord in her late 20s, and she's already retired at the age of 32, and she's bringing in a 6-figure income. Her husband told her if she could match what she was making on her job to real estate investing, you can quit. And so that's what she was able to do over some time. And she's going to share a little bit about how she does that and how others can do it too.
Okay. Well, y'all look out for Theresa's podcast. Send her an email if you have more questions, and visit thebeanpath.org to learn more about what we're doing in the city.
Oh, I'll tell you this real quick. So you can find more about the Dear Sister on Instagram under all things Dear Sister.
Last thing, sorry about that. We do have a promo code for people who are watching right now. It's 15 beans if you'd like a 15% off discount in the store. If somebody could post it in the chat so people could see that. 15 beans, all caps. There you go. And we will see y'all next time. Thank you again, Theresa.
Thank you. Take care.